This episode of Blacktop Banter is brought to you by Crafco, the world's leading manufacturer of packaged pavement preservation materials and equipment for the asphalt industry. Learn more at crafco.com. What's up? It is hot out, like hot out, especially here right in Wisconsin. My friend and guest today is Gennadiy Fainerman, and we're going to ask him some questions here coming up. Is it hot where you're at, G-Man?
It's pretty warm in the 90s this week. So, yeah, it's the hottest that it's been this summer so far in Minnesota here.
And Gennadiy's coming to us live from his work truck. Not the first recording we've ever had from a work truck. You do have the windows down, right? You're comfortable.
Well, the windows are up and the AC's blasting. It's way too hot to have the windows down at this.
Cool. Well, we can't even hear it. Most of the time you can hear it. You hear any feed, Chris? No. Chris says we're all good, man. So we're just going to keep going with it. Dude, it's been unreasonably hot and dry. Is it same up there?
Yes. I mean, the lawns are suffering, but the pocketbook isn't. So that's
what I was saying. Dude, we're in these conversations, right? We're in this farmland and everyone's like, we could use the rain, right? And I'm just the guy that's like not saying anything, dude. I'm just like, no, we can't use the rain. Dude, I kind of feel bad because we've been working with Jobber, which has been fantastic for us as far as our CRM and our scheduling. And dude, at the beginning, I was like, how are we going to fit all this in? You know, I was allocating for rain days and stuff. It's like starting to get slim pickings over there on the right side of the Jobber screen when I'm dragging them across. I'm like, we need more work. Like, I'm going to have to start, marketing a little bit, maybe get a couple, which is only because we work, dude, almost every day of the week. Like, we take Saturdays off and half Saturdays, really, sometimes, because we can't do commercial work. You know, on that day, we try to, like, avoid Saturday for banks and fast food or hotels or whatever. And we've caught up. Like, is that what you're seeing, too, up on your end?
Yeah, the first couple of months I had scheduled out, I only schedule Monday through Friday, and I allocate the weekends for commercial work. And that was my worry going into the season was, we get one day of rain days. I'm pushing people back a month because I don't adjust my schedule. I tell everybody if we get a rain day, you're on at the next available day. We try to scatter them throughout the week, one job here, one job there, but typically, if you're 2 weeks to a month out, that's our next available day to do the job, unfortunately. So, I mean, it's a good problem to have, but at the same time, yeah, it's always a challenge navigating rain days in a seasonal industry, especially if you're busy.
Yeah, thankfully we haven't had to navigate too many of them. I think
it's been a drought.
Like
it's
maybe
been a drought
3
here in Minnesota as well. I mean, I don't think we've had one rain day where I called it a rain day and then it didn't rain. That's just how it always works.
Yeah. Well, we've finally, like, this weekend, if anybody follows us along at Blacktop Banter, Westcote pretty much runs hand in hand most of the time. That's what I talk about. So Cheeks is over there running the crew, and he said, I don't know, a month or so ago, he's like, hey, can I have this weekend off, which is this weekend coming up? And he's like, I'm going to go fish and do whatever. I was like, yeah, man, I'll take the crew. No worries. And I got looking at the weather and how hot it was going to be, and I went, well, maybe I'll slide that off over here and Cheeks can do that one another day. So he was with me yesterday. We had a golf outing and he was like, so you guys are going down to do that one, right? This weekend? I'm like, well, he's like, I'm going to end up doing it, aren't I? I was like, yeah, probably, but like, I'm going to slide down. Everybody's getting a weekend off. Like, I'm being the good boss this weekend. He's like, you wanted the weekend off, but that's how it goes too. Gennadiy, we've been friends for a long time, man. Like a long time. So you were kind of wanting to talk about this before the podcast started, and I was like, wait. I want this for the podcast. But I started US Seal Coaters group on Facebook a long time ago, like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, somewhere around there. And you were one of the first ones when we first got on there. There was obviously there was nobody. I invited a few people that I knew, and pretty soon that thing started to grow. And there was a core group of about, I don't know, maybe 20 of us, you think, that were like commenting, posting content, making little videos, teaching each other this type of stuff, growing up through. And like I said, I never want to take all the credit, but for me, that's where the community started for me. And I've seen it explode from that time. So I know for a fact if we didn't do it, we were instrumental in helping kickstart how this functions and moves and does things now. But what do you remember from back in those days? And I hate to give you, I didn't give you a great proper introduction. Gennadiy is the owner and operator at Asphalt Aces in Minnesota, and they do fantastic work. We both really started kicking off our companies about the same time. Since then, we've only got to meet up once or twice, I think, since then in person, which isn't and it's a terrible excuse because we're only a state away. That's a miserable excuse. But what do you? I don't even know what I was gonna. I don't know what the first question was I was gonna ask you at this point. But
How did we meet?
the group, yeah, just the group. What do you
Oh,
remember from those first days when we were posting on Facebook?
um, I'm one of those guys that's I really appreciated seeing a group for our industry to start because there's no type of communication from one asphalt guy to the other guy to share their opinions, their problems, questions, and everything else through a group of other national seal coaters. So they don't have to necessarily, you don't have to feel like you're talking to a competitor and you're giving
Right,
information away that's going to be,
detrimental to
detrimental
you.
to your own business. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I remember that group. I remember it, yeah, it blew up really fast and it was great. I remember I think my first post is I was complaining about the sealer, about the experience that I was having with a manufacturer, and I was going back and forth with the salesman. You had to step in and kind of message me and be like, hey, like that's enough. So,
Yeah.
but it's a great place. It was a great place to share your feedback of the product, the problems that you're having, how to resolve them, getting other people's opinions on stuff like that. And since those days, I mean, there's been what, five other groups that have
Oh,
formed
dude.
since
Yeah,
then,
if not more. Yeah.
if not more.
Yeah.
There's a couple, that are bigger than the others and stuff like that. But yeah, it all started under the U.S. Seal Coaters banner, and I remember, um, yeah, I remember those days very clearly.
Yeah, we had so I remember the numbers only because I started it in spring, and by the time we hit MPE, I had 400 people, and I remember bragging like, "Dude, we had 400 people in there. There's like that group has 400 contractors. Like it might be something that I was talking to manufacturers. I don't know why, dude, but I always had that longer term vision of how the relationships between manufacturers, suppliers, and distributors and contractors will be and should be, and that was part of like the conversation that you and I had, right? When I was like, "Hey man, like let's not completely grill and go into this like in the group because maybe this guy's going to be attached to this place at some point or whatever, and maybe they can fix it or whatever and we'll figure this out." And it was thankfully, fortunately, that's kind of how it went. We really ended up checking, like, in part to you and in part to all of us, checking these producers, manufacturers, and suppliers of like, hey, there's a place where there's all these people and they're talking about your product or whatever it is. Don't you think that you would want to have them see this in a positive light? So you've seen all these companies that formerly would just say tough shit, to us, all of a sudden be like, okay, let's see how we can help you. Or let's see, yeah, we're going to work on that. You know what I mean? And to me, that was a big shift. And I think that in part that happened because two things. We started a community where we all interact with each other. And the second thing, those people that are those manufacturers, suppliers, sales guys, whatever, joined those groups, right? So they were in there. They wanted to sell to us, but we also checked them and said, "You ain't selling us shit anymore. Like we want some good shit. Like help us out here. It's not all going to fall on us the whole time." And I think that was the big game changer that all of a sudden made that interaction between the contractor and the suppliers, manufacturers, or whatever, get in check with it. But as you pointed to, we really all elevated each other at that point, right? Because we would run into these problems, and you would have 20, 30, 40 comments of guys saying their experiences with them and how to bring them up. That's relatable, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you from the manufacturing side, and I've talked to our manufacturers since the same thing. I'm like, hey, there's this big group. It's got thousands of members at this point. We are
Yep.
talking about and discussing your
Yep.
product from product A to product Z, from wear to longevity to issues, flaking, whatever, anything that you can think of has been discussed on this
Yeah.
forum. And I tell them all, I'm like, you should really probably join because there's there's a lot of problems that you could mediate just from there, marketing
Yeah.
and everything else. Like, you should probably at least you have a chance to defend yourself, not necessarily defend yourself, but give your perspective and give facts and specs and
Yeah.
everything else that you want to give, especially when people are discussing your product that might not know as much as you know. And, if you have some insight, you certainly should be a part of those groups as a manufacturer and be able to give people the information that they need.
Yeah. Now you see them, right? Like they'll be on, even if it's on our posts or whatnot through Blacktop Banner and whatnot. Since then, but I should say too, since then, the group has shifted hands of who owns it and runs it from myself to Brad Anderson. And, what ends up
See
happening
the hat
is we
there,
have,
Larry?
there we go. There we go. What ends up happening is you end up getting these um, manufacturers that actually interacted and did pretty much, they ended up realizing they had research and development for free, right, with us. Like we, if they would post about their product or whatever, you might get a handful of guys that said, man, this is junk, or you might get a handful of guys like, hey, it's been fantastic, you just have to use it the right way and do this way. Or you get other guys who are like, yeah, we all tried it, it sucks, don't waste your money, put your money over here, do whatever. So we really started to elevate each other, and I think that I never had that before. It was a byproduct of all of us being there and just speaking the truth and knowledge and sharing our experiences that we all started to elevate some. Can you kind of give us a synopsis over the last 5 or 6 years what Asphalt Aces looked like from that point at the beginning to where you're at now? What do we got going on? How did you start and how's it going?
How did I start? So, how I started my business, I essentially started seal coating as a summer job right out of high school. Um, Fell in love with it, met the right guy at the right time who gave me a chance, essentially. I went up north and said, let me see what you can do. Did the biggest driveways that I've ever done to that point, some farm, quarter-mile farm long driveways that we were brushing out. He
Yep.
ended up buying me, said, I'll give you $2,000 that you can pay back. Find a truck. I got a 1985 Chevy C10, K10. I'm not
Yep.
very
There's a
mechanically
year there
friendly.
where they changed. Well, they changed that one year. It went from a C10
So it was a
to a
box
K10 to
buy.
whatever.
I welded down the
Oh yeah.
tailgate. I had a little 10-gallon melter, so I was doing professional work from the start because I had
Yep.
experience. And then a couple of years later, I ended up buying them out. So Asphalt Aces has been around since 1995 originally. That's when Todd
Okay.
Tolleson, the original owner, had it.
Okay.
I've had it since 2009.
Okay.
And so yeah, so I started with a little Chevy truck. I run just two trucks, so it's not we haven't grown tremendously by any means, but
Same. We do
I've
too. We run two
focused
trucks too. Yeah.
I've focused strictly on quality. So we're
Yep.
quality based, where it's a quality versus quantity. There's multiple different, structures of how a business can be run. There's a
Oh,
lot
for
of
sure.
companies that,
Especially in this
you know,
industry. Especially in this industry,
absolutely.
but you and I have seen them all.
Absolutely. So we specialize in residential and commercial seal coating, apron repairs, and smaller patching jobs. We do sell quite a bit of paving as well. That's all contracted out. Um, but yeah, so I run, like I said, two seal coating crews, mainly one at this point right now. We're pretty caught up.
Yep.
I'm in the field every single day, whether it's estimating or laying down the sealer. Today's one of those days where I'm kind of clean. I still got a little bit of seal coat residue under my fingers, as you can tell, but
Yep.
This is as clean as I get pretty much for the whole summer.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
always fantastic, right?
two seal coating crews and two dump trailers for aprons and patching.
Cool, man. Cool, dude. It's an amazing little run since those first days early on. What have you grown to love about this industry, or what have you always loved about it?
What I've grown to love about the industry is the freedom that it provides for me and my family. So I have full control of what I can do every single day, from whether it's being out in the field and physically doing the work, to estimating, to, if I have an off day and I'm like, you know what, today I just can't, I have the ability to shift the schedule around, call our customers back, and let them know, like, hey, it's going to be a different day that we're doing the project. So the freedom that it provides, for me and my family, that's the biggest love that I have for it. And what I love everything about it, to be honest with you. It's always an adventure. Every single day is an adventure, whether it's good or bad. The process is the same from driveway to driveway Z, but it's always different. You get the customer interaction, you get to communicate with your community and the locals around you, build relationships, network, and everything else is kind of a byproduct from that. So the connections that I've made through the industry, within the industry, with our customers and everything else, that's what I love about the industry.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah.
Well, so you've been in it a long time now, and you've been able to see it all, right? That you've grown to love certain things about it, and of course, there's always a flip side, right? I mean, that's how scales go. One side goes up, and the other side goes down. What have you come to despise about what's the worst part about what we do?
For me personally, the worst part is I've seen an influx of contractors come into the community, and I feel like we're kind of moving into the race to the bottom on pricing.
Okay.
The price structure and how the prices are dropping on the projects versus our cost significantly, especially last year,
Oh yeah.
skyrocketing on material. Um,
Yep.
so that's kind of my biggest drawback is the pricing, which isn't,
Yeah.
at this point, that doesn't affect us too much, because like I said,
Yeah.
I have a reputation in the
I was
industry
gonna
to
say you built
where
a strong brand. Yeah, you've built a strong brand.
it's not a huge factor. But
Mm,
starting out, especially, we were getting jobs focused on pricing, because I was a kid. I was 18 years old, knocking on doors, selling jobs. And I'm not knocking
right.
anybody who knocks on doors, because everybody has got to start somewhere.
Yep.
And more power to you. But I a
It's a
lot
lot
of
harder. It's a
customers,
lot harder than what people think it is.
it
You know,
absolutely is. And
not
personally
only
for
you
me,
don't want to do it. It's not like people are like, I can't wait to go knock on people's doors and interrupt their day. You know what I mean? Like it's you don't. It's not like you go out looking at that. That way. But I don't think until somebody actually tries to do that, right? To sell somebody something in person that they had no thought about buying, and it's multiple hundreds of dollars. Go out and try that once and see how much you like it and see how easy it is. Yeah, right.
it's absolutely a challenge. I mean, you have to stay persistent, and you have to keep your head up when you're knocking. I mean, you're going to get 20 no's before you can get maybe one yes,
Oh
and
yeah.
it does defeat you at a certain point. But that's the thing, is as long as you get up and you keep
Yeah.
going, you will get that yes, and you got to start somewhere. So for the new guys that
Yeah.
are starting out, go for it.
Yeah.
That's just what, sometimes you gotta do that. And I've reflected on that over the last couple of years. I'm like, man, I should knock on some doors, because I've gotten too comfortable myself
Yes.
on,
Yep.
the work that's coming in. And I'm like, I don't even know if I could do it at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll tell you one thing that that does for you though. Once you realize that the name of the game is rejection, it makes you pretty smooth with the ladies. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not really much fear anymore. Like shit, I got rejected 20 times a day. What's two times or three times at the club? Not very much. So let's send it. And I'm used to getting told no. So and in both and in those other situations, I had more to offer than I do right now. So
mhm.
yeah, I mean that's the name of the game with it. But no, I appreciate you being candid with it on that. Like it's been tough, man, and I think that that's what's the importance of brand building, right? Is the fact that we don't want to do that. Obviously, we don't want to go out and knock all the time, and we don't want to be at the race to the bottom and having to win jobs by price anymore. It's very, very important to market yourself and brand yourself accordingly. That way, you demand a higher price when you get there, right? I mean, if they know you, they like you, and they trust you already, that has value. I keep telling people that. I'm like, you're trying to say that the only two things that the only things you're selling are seal coat and crack filler compared to everybody else, but it's not. There's integrity, there's customer relations, right? There's reputation, right? There's giving back to your community. All these things people are buying. You're selling that too, and that costs more than just seal coat and crack fill.
Absolutely. Being able to connect with the customer and let them know, like, hey, if, we're only human, sometimes we do make mistakes. If you do have any type of issues, I will be there. You will be able to contact me and we will resolve the issue for you. And I want you to hire with confidence that you are going to get what you're asking for, if not better.
Yeah.
So I specialize personally on the relationship building with the customers, and that's what I feel like where we connect the most. Because when I'm selling, like for example, now I don't I don't even knock on the door. I literally measure out the driveway. I take some
Yep.
pictures and I email them a quote. I call them because
Yep.
sometimes it goes to spam. So I just call them just to let them know, like, hey, here's a timestamp of where it might be sitting in your spam or junk folder or your inbox. But I just stopped by. Your estimates in your email. If you
Yep.
want to move forward, it's a DocuSign document. So you can just sign off from there. We're not pushing on the sale. So you don't have to give me an
Yeah.
answer right now. Think about it, get more
Yeah.
quotes, and compare apples to apples. That's all I ask.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's nice to be able to do that. And what's crazy is we've learned that, right? There's quite a bit we've learned from when we first started all communicating with each other and whatnot as time went forward. Real quick, we're gonna take a commercial break, but when we come back, I'm gonna ask Gennadiy about his equipment because I know everybody's curious about the equipment and what materials you use and that type of stuff. So we're gonna go over that. But then I'm also gonna ask Gennadiy some personal stuff too about himself and um, you know, what he's learned and whatnot. So let's go ahead and get some words from these great sponsors who make Blacktop Banner possible. And then we'll pop back in here and talk to Gennadiy again. Now that spring is here, it won't be long before we're back out in the field. And a key part of being successful this year is making sure we have the products we know and trust to get the job done right each and every time. That's why we use Crafco for all of our crack and joint sealant needs. Crafco products are safe, easy to use, and consistent in their quality and performance, so we spend less time troubleshooting and more time building jobs. Plus, Crafco's industry-leading service and support team means they're ready to assist with any questions we do have along the way. So, if you're ready to ditch the hassle and the headaches this year, visit Crafco.com and give their products a try. I know you'll be glad you did. That's CRAFCO.com. Dynapac continues to make an impact in the asphalt industry, literally. Recently unveiling their electric line of rollers and plate compactors, they lead the way in innovation when it comes to compaction, including their seismic technology, which creates a better, smoother, compacted surface. We're happy to have Dynapac as a supporter of the Blacktop Banner community and encourage you to interact with them on social media. For their full product lineup, visit Dynapac.com. Dynapac, your partner on the road ahead. From their iconic hot boxes to their infrared machines, and now the KM Blacktop Banner Edition seal coating unit, KM International has established itself as one of the toughest and longest lasting equipment manufacturers in the asphalt world. KM is comprised of an experienced team that brings you all the resources you would hope to see from an asphalt equipment manufacturer. Check out KM International on all forms of social media
and be sure to see all they have to offer at kminternational.com.
Asphalt contractors, are you guys tired of using 10 different programs to create a nice professional looking report for your customer? Are you tired of having to drive back and forth to your job sites to capture photo updates and get measurements and quantities for change orders, or even having to mark your jobs out beforehand? Are you also tired of carrying too much stuff whenever you're on site scoping jobs, like a wheel, a pen, paper, and clipboard, and a spray paint can? We were too, so we developed Spot on Site, an all-in-one mobile app that allows you to measure and mark instantly from the palm of your hand, capture photos and videos that are all time-stamped and dated, and generate instant reports that you can send to your customers and your team members for a seamless collaboration. This is going to no doubt help you win more work, reduce inefficiencies, and stand out from the competition. Check us out for your free 14-day trial, spotonSiteApp.com.
All right, we're back, and Gennadiy sent out 5 estimates during the 2-minute commercial break. I imagine probably got 4 responses back already.
Just a couple emails.
Just a couple emails, fair enough. All right. So we were talking earlier, right, about back in the day and your experience with some sealer and whatnot from different places up your way. But what we all geek out about this stuff. We always wonder what everybody's using and whatnot. So I want you to give us a rundown real quick. What sealer are you currently using, and what machine or what application style are you using?
So I'm currently using Starseal Triton blend,
Okay.
which is their refined tar, essentially coal tar alternative in Minnesota. Coal tar has been banned for 10 years in Minnesota from manufacturing to you can't have it delivered in state, you can't manufacture it, you can't apply it. So it first started 12 years ago, I swore by coal tar, so I've seen the shift in the industry, and other states are starting to follow. I believe Wisconsin still you can still apply coal tar, which is great for the customer.
Some spots you can, some spots you can't. Yeah, it'll be statewide soon.
Exactly, and that's how it happened in Minnesota too. It was a couple cities here, a couple cities there, and then it's snowballed into banning the product, which drove Vance Brothers, which was a big manufacturer in Minnesota for coal tar. They're no longer here. But yeah, so I've tried every single product that's available on the marketplace besides Gem Seal, which they don't have in Minnesota.
Yep.
But we are currently using Starseal Triton, which is
how are you applying it? Are you guys what do you have what type of rig do you have, and how are you applying it?
So I have a Sealrite 700.
Okay.
I'm set up for spray application and brush application. Unless the driveway is significantly larger or it's extremely hot and I'm working by myself, I spray. But most of the time, residential jobs I brush on, commercial jobs I spray on.
Okay. Do you give them 2 choices on the quote? Do you give them a choice of spray and brush, or are you just like, you get what you get?
Nope. I don't give them. I don't really give them choices on that. On commercial end, I always go by spec. It's always spec'd out to give 2 coats. So that's if I give a customer a choice, that would be the only choice. Here's how it's spec'd. It's spec'd out to be applied 2 coats by the manufacturer. Here are the specs. And I know, being kind of going back on the pricing end of things, a lot of contractors are pricing it for 1 coat. So that's the only time that I give the customer a choice, is I let them know, here's 1 coat pricing, here's 2 coat pricing. It's spec'd out to be applied for 2 coats. But typically on residentials, we don't give a choice. I just let them know this is the application process. It's either, some customers are picky and they want it to be one way or the other, whether it's spray application or brush application, which I have absolutely no problem adjusting. If they say, hey, you know what, I actually want to brush, I say, no problem. We'll brush it on. It just takes a little bit longer. That's the only difference.
Yeah. And they end up happy, right?
Exactly.
That's what we want anyways.
It's another 5-star review and driving more business your way.
What about crack sealant, man? What are you guys using?
Well, I actually just got a truckload of Gold Flex from Mr. Jeff Nelson that
Okay,
came in.
okay.
So that's what I'm using. I'm
You're
using
using a
their.
direct fire. That's a direct fire product, right?
It is a direct fire.
Okay,
He does say that it can be used in oil jacketed melters as well. I have
okay,
not personally applied it in an oil jacketed melter, so I have no feedback on that end of things. But
okay.
it does great as a as a direct fire product. So we
Cool.
apply crack filler with 30-gallon melters. If I have
Yep.
larger scope jobs, like dealerships or something bigger, then we rent a melter, and then we buy Crafco, which is one of your sponsors, from
Yeah.
the same
It's,
guys that we rent the melter from. So
yeah. Yeah, dude. We and I know, and before Crafco was a sponsor, that's what we used as Crafco. Great product. Everything seemed to go smooth. I had somebody text me earlier today, right? And they're like, "Hey, we know that you partner with KM for the Blacktop Banner Edition seal coat unit. What do you know about their big red uh, thermostatic melters or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know anything." And then he's like, "Well, I want to do some roadways and some larger lots and stuff." I'm like, "Well, you're gonna want to pull behind. Like, you're gonna want something that's oil jacketed and pump." He's like, "Oh, I just hate all the issues that I have with that come with those." And I'm like, "Dude, I never have had hardly any issues with ours. Like, whatever. Once Cheeks and I got it figured out, which Cheeks really has it buttoned in now. Um, dude, it's been gravy. You just got to know what you're doing, I think, and have the right product in there, and it seems to go really well. But I don't know. I guess. I mean, maybe some people do or put the wrong thing in or don't do it right or whatever. But it's always been good for us, and it's a great partnership that we have with them because it just makes sense, right? That's what we use. It works great. We obviously are trying to do great things here, and it's like that works out really well. What type of melters then do you have for the direct fire? What size and what types?
30-gallon, two Gingway melters, so it's just direct heat. I
Yep.
don't really have any issues with. I know a lot of guys have issues with their torch blowing out and everything like
Yep.
that. If I have any of those issues, it's as simple as taking one of those boxes of crack filler and putting it on the side, blocking
Yep.
the
Giving
one
yourself a wind
window.
block. Yep.
Exactly. You just got to find a wind blocker, or you can have a welder fabricate a little windshield around your
Mm-hmm.
torch to solve that problem. So it's I've never had a timing issue. Typically, like at the beginning of the day, for example, we're on site at 7:30. We start running equipment. By the time a single driveway is prepped and ready to go, the melter's ready to go. So it's about
Yeah.
20 minutes heat up time. I can apply the product.
Yeah. Yeah. We try to keep ours not completely chock full. Like we try to keep it like kind of half, a little below half. That way, if
Mhm.
there's only 4 or 5 cracks and they're big ones or whatever, we can have enough product to fill it up. We don't have to wait for this whole damn thing to melt down or heat up the whole entire thing, or whatever. But what about blowers? On the blower side, what do you guys rock?
Red Max. So I've
Oh
had
shoot, really? Backpack blowers?
yes, yes. Well,
Okay,
I have a couple Billy Goat, one Billy Goat, and
okay.
I have a ride-on blower as well that we use for commercial
Damn.
lots. Which
The one that you
why
stand on, one of the stand-up ones, Gennadiy, or what?
yes,
What type?
they're absolutely a game changer, and I mean
Damn.
absolutely a game changer. If you do a lot of commercial lots, which we don't do a lot of commercial, but when we
But
do
save you, huh?
commercial lots, it cuts down time.
Which one do you have the Skag one or do you have the red one? The
The red
Hurricane?
one, it's like the off brand of Billy Goat, and for some
Okay.
reason I'm blanking on the name of it.
Well, the red one was a different brand, and I think Billy Goat bought that company and made it
Yes,
like
yeah,
into the Hurricane. Is that right? Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yep,
yeah,
yep. So
yeah,
it's got three chutes, one in the front, two on the sides, and it's
yeah.
amazing. I mean,
Dang,
it
man.
is amazing. The
Well, you've
amount
been
of
at like,
productivity that you can do with that and how fast you can clean a lot, it's crazy.
well, dude, you get on some of these, man, and there's so much sand and debris and dirt that like you get halfway across and you could shovel it up. You know what I mean, and get rid of it if you wanted to. Some of those, thankfully, we have a local contractor we work here with, and they have one of the box brooms that goes on
Yep.
the end of a skid steer. We're like, dude, come sweep it up. We'll bring the dump trailer. You can scoop all of it into there. And then next day we'll go back, then be able to use the blowers and the brooms and everything and clean up. But there's a lot goes into it. But if you have that type of blower, man, you might save yourself from hiring it out, right? And then also you're not waiting on another contractor to come finish it with you, right, and get it done. So,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. Well, I actually have for our asphalt work, I have a skid loader. So if I'm bidding commercial lots and I can tell, man, this thing is dirty. I bid it
yep.
out for sweeping as well. I
Okay.
don't have a box broom, but I go and rent
Yeah.
one, and that's
Oh,
exact.
yeah,
And
for sure.
I have that in my bid to where it's like if it needs sweeping, and I'm like, you know what, like I can't just blow tons of sand and debris on
Oh,
this
yeah.
guy's property or this lady's property. um, it's going to need to get swept, and I bid accordingly
Man,
from
we
the
did that one
rental to the
time.
sweeping, and then we come through,
We
yeah,
did,
go through it and sweep it.
dude, let me tell you the story. We did where they hold the Wisconsin Polka Festival, and the guy, I only did it one time. Yeah, I only did it one time. So
Wisconsin
it was,
Polka Festival.
yeah, Wisconsin Polka Festival. Yeah.
Wow.
What happened was it was older blacktop, and they tar and chipped it with pea gravel. They
Oh,
loaded so much tar and chip on it, dude. Like, so much tar and chip, and they're like, well, we want you to seal coat it. I bid it high, dude, back then, and I was like, yeah, baby. I bid it like, I don't know, dude, probably 20 cents a square foot, thinking I was really killing it, and so stupid. I go start blowing this thing, and I realize, like, it's not just a little bit of loose debris. It's all of it's almost loose. All this tar and chip is loose. Literally, dude, I had a pile. By the time I got to the end, the pile was a foot tall. But by the
oh
time I
boy.
got to half, it was about 4 inches tall. And I was blowing it, literally only moving it 2 inches. And it had to at least be 60 feet long and then 60 feet wide. And I was trying to move it across this parking lot and couldn't. So we ended up stopping. I went and bought a wheelbarrow and shovels. We would blow it until I would get a roll going of all this of all this chip, shovel it up, went and dumped it in the grass, right? And I'm like, oh, we'll just move it when we're done. By the time we were done, there was 1.5 tons of chip that come off the top of it that we moved with wheelbarrows. And then I shoveled that into the bed of a pickup truck and went and dumped it at the asphalt plant, like when we were done. Completely ruined my bid, ruined the job, ruined the day. I was like, oh yeah, baby, this is gonna be a good one. Nightmare scenario. Now when I see like that blower like you got, I'm like, dude, that sucker would have blown it all into the grass. Like I would have probably added another 10 feet of parking lot for these people. They had, 8 more parking spots probably, but nightmare, dude. Nightmare scenario. But they come in handy now. Like those big ones come in handy.
Absolutely. And I got lucky to where it was a demo unit from uh Gerlach Equipment out in Hastings, I believe they are. So they had like
Okay.
20 hours on it. So I got it at a steal of a price. And I haven't put, a ton of hours on it personally, but it's when we did use it, I mean, we've saved tens,
W- Worth it.
tens of maybe like 100 hours in labor time just by using this equipment, using this blower just a few times.
Dude, worth it.
So yeah,
Totally
they're
worth it.
extremely handy when you need them. You really need them. And yeah, going back to your point on the tar and chip lot, yeah, I've had the same experience. There's been a ton of valuable lessons, that we learn where we're like bidding it and we're like, wow, like I can't believe I got this job. This is really good. And then you're doing it and you're like, okay, well, maybe
Now
my
I know
numbers
why I
are
got
a
this
little bit
job. Yeah, now I know why I got this job. Let's
exactly.
let's let's segue when you're talking about learning, right? I want to know what you've learned most about yourself, Gennadiy, in this industry and owning the business over the last 6, 7 years and whatnot.
You know, I don't even know where to start on that. I feel like I've learned that I'm a lot more resilient than I thought I was. Um, from everything from friends to customers to getting the constant no's and negative feedback, good feedback. You really kind of learn to balance yourself a lot more because with the freedom that it brings, it also brings a lot of responsibility on your
Mm-hmm.
shoulders, where your workers depend on you. They have families that depend on you, and so you got to bring the workforce and the jobs to make sure that you're able to provide for everybody. But the resilience that I know that I personally have from the
Yeah.
grind that I put in, I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've learned from myself is I'm a little tougher than I seem
Yeah.
than I thought, from everything. Another thing that I guess a big takeaway uh would be the employee retention is hiring friends. It's very difficult for a lot of people to draw the line of boss and friend, and that
Yeah.
line can get pushed one way or the other. And at the end of the day, people really show their true colors, and it's sad, honestly. So I've had some tough lessons. I've lost friends. I've gained friends. But yeah, I guess the resilience, that would be the biggest takeaway is how resilient I am to everything, to the everyday stress and
Yeah.
everyday, that every day brings, and the gratitude that I have from it, as well as the business that I've been able to build uh, from it, and being able to get up every single day and not being defeated. Because if there was one day that I said, you know what, F it, I'm done with the
Yeah.
stress, I can go and easily, go and manage somebody else's company, whether it's management or foreman or whatever else. I could have done
Yep.
that 1,000 times over, but no, I'm still here, I'm still grinding, and I don't plan on stopping.
I think it reminds me, like, so Eli wrestles, and there's this I see this shirt all the time that people wear all the time. It's like, after you've wrestled, everything else in life is easy. And that's what I think of when you talk about that, right? Like, we go through the full gamut of situations, emotions, stresses, right? Celebrations. Like, we go through the full gamut. You see people at their highest, you see people at their worst. Like, and it can't just be singly and solely in the asphalt maintenance and asphalt industry, but it happens here, and that's what we talk about. That's what we can relate to. Like, you go through tough stuff, man. You have like the worst days when you don't think that you're going to make it another day. So then when normal stuff happens, I say normal, but to me it's like average stuff. I don't even care, dude. Like, it doesn't even bother me at all. Like, it could be anything. Like, we had I went to Missouri a couple weeks ago, and truck motor blew. The truck is still down there. Like, and before, like, if we went back when we first met and that truck went, if back when I had hair, I would have pulled that shit out, dude. I would have been like, oh my God, we're done. I'm done. I'm done. Ain't gonna be able to make it. Not even a problem. I was talking with somebody yesterday who's in the Blacktop Banter Success Group, a good friend of ours, Al from Blue Line Seal Coating over in La Crosse. And he had a tire blowout and just had a string of bad stuff. And he was like, dude, how do you get over it? And I'm like, that's a really good question. I never really thought about it. I'm like, but I think because the problems I have now are so huge that the little ones don't really bother me all that much. And I made me think back. I had that seal coating rig, was like a green one with a huge bed, and I was like, dude, this is going to be our money maker. I'm going to build a business on this bad boy. Motor blew in that thing. The motor was more money than I had, more than the truck was worth, right? And I was like, oh my God. And it was $7,000 I invested in that truck, and it was gone. Just lost the money. Like, it's gone. And think back to last year, we blew a motor in the D-Max, shredded the agitator on the inside of the bulk tank, busted a valve on the Crafco, uh, had to get all the stripers redone. And that was well into 30,000, right? If not more of the cost. And that didn't even bother me at all. But that first truck blowing way back then, dude, I was like, I remembered just like sitting there on the ground, like defeated. And now, like, all that shit happened last year. I was like, that's just par for the course. And it is what it is. I'll figure out a way around it this way or that way and make it work. We always have, always will have for all these years. Why would we stop now? But that's a really good point, man. This industry and owning your own business in this industry makes you resilient as shit. And you learn that you deal with all types of people too, right? So you become emotionally resilient, which sometimes is a good thing and sometimes is a bad thing, right? Because you get a little bit of a shell, but also real, true, valuable relationships you place a lot higher value on, right? When you realize that this is actually what this person's made of, they actually care about the stuff that really matters and don't value this over that, or whatever. And I think it's a really good point. With what you've learned in this trajectory already, you and I are really similar in the way that we design our businesses, where we have a couple trucks, we have a couple units, we do high quality work, we demand a higher value dollar for that work. Is that the track that you see things going, Gennadiy, or how do you see the future of A&A panning out there with Asphalt Aces?
You know, I don't have an exit plan, and that's kind of my problem on the same level. I don't have an exit plan as to what I'm going to do, and that's something that I've been working on over the last couple years. So I have some options. I don't know which direction I'm going to go, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
in the industry. I have options, which is fantastic, and I could go,
Yep.
whatever way I want to, whether I want to. I don't have any goals of expanding. So that's
Yep.
one thing that I don't plan on doing. I'm going to keep it small
Yep.
and keep grinding. But yeah, I hope the industry moves forward with not just Asphalt Aces, but with other contractors, and they start uh, knowing their numbers, just so they could start charging accordingly and bringing the whole industry up, because
Yeah.
there's in Minnesota, especially in the South Metro, they are expanding the hell out of it. There's neighborhoods
Okay.
going up everywhere. There's a ton of work for everybody. So
Yep.
there's no reason for low bids. Everybody there's literally 10, 20 new seal coating companies every single year, and that's fine. I'm all for new business, and I'm all for promoting new business and teaching you guys how to grow, but there's plenty of work for everybody. Let's move the industry forward, not backwards, and charging
What?
accordingly, just so we can all enjoy our winters off if we want to.
Yeah.
And not be, come end of November, it's like, oh shit, well, I got to take a part-time job because I didn't budget
Yeah.
accordingly, or I guess I didn't know my numbers, and now there's no money in the bank, and essentially I was just working just because I love seal coating, which isn't the case a lot of the times for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is, like, you'll get people that will come to the end of March and be like, "Oh shit, we ain't gonna make it." Like they thought they were gonna make it, and they get the end of March, like, "Wow, we're not gonna make it." Like, I have to figure something else out, whether it's selling stuff or going and getting a job for like a little bit or whatever. We ain't gonna make it. What advice then do you have for people who are either getting into the industry or having a hard time with it or whatever? What advice do you have for contractors just starting out?
For where do you start, Marvin? I mean, for
Oh,
contractors
there's a lot.
starting out, I recommend that you join one of these groups that started it all for you and
Mm-hmm.
for me as well, to where I can get feedback from other contractors in the field. It doesn't have to be, and if you feel like, well, I don't want to be reaching out to local competitors, quote unquote, and getting information from them, because not a lot of local guys might not be willing to share that information. Some are. For me personally, I don't care. I share my prices publicly, per square foot, the product that we use. I have no issues sharing that, because, like I said, I'm lucky enough. I shouldn't say lucky, because I've been grinding to get myself to this point, but I'm lucky
Yeah.
enough to have the work to where I can get through the season and be just fine during the winter. We plow in the winter as well.
Yeah.
But I'd say reach out, get some mentors,
Yeah.
reach out to people in the industry, um, get some knowledge behind you, from the equipment to sales to marketing to everything else. But join a group,
Yeah.
join a local group, and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask a question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I know people say
That's
that,
true.
but there's no other way to learn. Well, I had to learn the hard way. I have plenty of nightmare stories. It didn't have to go that way.
Right.
I didn't have access to any of these groups when I was first starting out, and that could have saved me a ton of headaches. So I just say, get a mentor in the industry, find somebody that you're trying to get to their level and have them elevate you if they're willing to.
Yeah. I mean, that's ideally what the Blacktop Banner Success Group, that's why I founded it on. I wanted to take the best aspects of what we learned in the public groups and therefore be able to control it in-house and eliminate all the negative aspects, right? Because we're able to control it and people have to pay to play to be in there. They know that they're not there just to sound off and criticize people. And also it filters away people who openly can do that for free in the other groups, right? It eliminates all the garbage. So for us, we were able to create that group here at Blacktop Banner. And it's been, like you said, same thing. We've had guys literally, there's a guy in there who started with nothing in January, has sold over $100,000 in work and is absolutely crushing it up to this point, right? And he's been in there 5-6 months. And it was big because we were able to hyperlocate on all the great aspects of what you and I were able to take advantage of early on when we started with the public groups, and just funnel it right into the guys in the Blacktop Banner Success Group. So I really appreciate you pointing that out, and how great it is. Where can we find you, Gennadiy? If we were going to look online, where do we find information on Asphalt Aces or you yourself?
Well,
You're pretty low key. You're pretty low key. You're pretty low key, dude.
I am. I don't really post, which I need to change, obviously, but I don't really post. AsphaltAces.com, Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I try not to spend too much time on there, just because I just find myself scrolling through nonsense. But most of my feed is cement groups and asphalt groups. So most of it is in-house stuff that we do, which we sell cement as well. But yeah, asphaltaces.com. For some reason, they actually took my Google listing down 2 weeks ago, so I'm battling with Google right now to figure out what happened. So, because I don't advertise, and that's all the advertising I do is just tell people, compare apples to apples, see what people are saying about our work. Go on Google and see what they're saying. I mean, we had 150 reviews, and they took our listing down 2 weeks ago. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on that end of things. But yeah, to find us on asphaltaces.com, Facebook, Asphalt Aces, or just reach out to me directly at asphaltaces.com. My number is posted right on there. Feel free to give me a call at any time. My phone's always on me.
Cool, man. Well, we really appreciate it. We appreciate you being here. Dude, always enjoy our friendship, our conversations. Like I said, we don't get to see each other enough. It's shitty, I know. We don't have an excuse. We're not that far away. Next time I'm up, I'll pop in and say, hey. Plus, I got to get over there and see Jack at Sealmaster over at that plant too. It's been a minute since I've seen him, but those are all my guys. That's all of our squad, kind of the circle. So I try to keep in the loop best I can. But for myself and for Gennadiy, this is Blacktop Banner, and as always, he and I and everybody else here in the industry, I think, we speak asphalt. Peace.
We've had our 800 network phone number on the side of our trucks and equipment for a while now. And having branding power over your competition who has a complicated phone number versus 1-800-ASPHALT or 1-800-BLACKTOP makes it easy for people to remember, and all the calls go directly to you. Plus, when you join the 800 Pavement Network, you're joining over 300 pavement contractors who have generated over $2 billion in combined total sales. You can call 1-800-PAVEMENT, or you can go to the website 1-800-pavement.com and you'll find them. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that I've been using Stencil Plus for years. They have everything I need for line striping jobs, from multi-piece stencils, stencils with different thicknesses, stencils for the big box stores, custom stencils, and they have free shipping on all orders within the US. Plus, for a limited time, friends of this podcast can save an additional 10% on all orders at Stencil Plus. Just use code BB10. That's BB10, as in Blacktop Banter, at stencilplus.com. From spray tips, pour pots, street brooms and handles, flagging tape, chalk lines, and more, Liberty Supply is a one-stop shop for all your asphalt tool and equipment supply needs. They've been an invaluable resource for us, and owners Sam and Mike are great guys. They're ready to help you with anything you need. What more could you ask for? Visit their website at libertysupply.biz or call 800-397-9907 and tell them Marvin sent you.